Let me hit you with another trend. It became real obvious when they had 4 burnout pits going on at the same time that I think that type of takeover activity is, I'm going to say, this is going to piss people off, but I think it's replacing motorsports. Ooh, wow, I can't believe somebody just said that. But if you look at what's going on, that's where the attention's at, man. That's where your biggest influencers are spending their time building a burnout car. I'm not saying that as, pro motorsports is going away, but if you look at where the attention is, man, there's a lot of people building burnout cars just to be Instagram famous. I'm not being, they're winning. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just looking at where the attention is at, and they got it right now.
Welcome to the Automotive Advantage. Grow your business and get smarter in just 1 hour.
Okay, welcome to the Automotive Advantage podcast. We are back from Las Vegas. I believe both of us got our steps in. Everyone's probably attempting to recover from the trade show. Where do we want to start today?
Well, I realized we broke our own rule when we released the one 2 days before the SEMA show. That podcast was about don't do communications the week prior to a big event. And what did we do, Justin?
Communications prior to the big event.
Damn it. So, anyways, make sure you watch that one. That didn't perform well, but we knew that, but we wanted to get some stuff out for people. I think this one, we don't need to talk about the podcast. We're rolling along. We got a couple great guests lined up. I'll just say that Keith Wilson's is coming out, and then we just interviewed Isaac Baker from Finishing Touch Auto Spa. So if you're super into paint protection, or you think that'd be a great business to open up, you're going to want to watch that one. Unbelievable. I kind of want to dive into industry trends, what we saw, and then I think what's most helpful is I want to learn what you did to take care of people and help them build businesses, and I'll do the same. So where are we at? What was your takeaway last week?
Well, we've been talking a lot about the state of the industry on the pod, and it felt like the vibe in Las Vegas was that everything's pretty good, I feel like. I didn't run into... There have been years where we have gone and it is a tale of just straight woe. Everything's collapsing. We're never going to survive. Kids hate cars, that kind of vibe. Sometimes it's euphoric, like we've done it. It's the best thing ever. This year just felt very much kind of good across the board. I felt like the displays themselves were of all high quality this year, which was nice to see. Pretty good marketing material, lot of content creators per square mile, maybe, might be a good way to put it. I saw brands, running around with a lot of content creators. So that was good. But yeah, my overall take was things are good, and I'm tired of walking around so much. It was kind of my vibe leaving there. What did you see? What's your overall kind of overarching vibe of it?
Yeah, we're not pessimistic guys, but I was expecting a lot more negativity of the industry. I think maybe, right, let's go back to the macro of the industry. It grows at 5 to 10% every year since 1975, except for 2020 to 22, it went insane. Now we're probably back down in the 5 to 10% growth for, the bulk of the industry. We know from the MidwayPlus.com index that Brian Lounsbury gives us that flat is probably what this year looks like in the best case scenario. But yeah, I was kind of surprised. Everybody was super upbeat. They had some new products, so maybe there was some investment over the last 12 months on some new product stuff, and a lot of activities. I think as a show, I heard numbers that it was down a little bit. I actually think that's good, right? You can have more of a business conversation. I left Friday morning, no fault of the show, but just for timestamp, we were having problems at airports and people weren't sure how they were going to get home. You were already out of there by that time. You were on to your next gig. But I think overall, everybody was super pumped, and than going after it.
Yeah, and I think in general, so we were in Vegas early and we stayed through Thursday, and then we went to CanCon, which is the world's largest fully suppressed range day, put on by Recoil. Incredible event. We've been lucky enough to be a part of it kind of from day one. And my takeaway from doing that trip was that events are here to stay, right? There was a period of time where we were like, oh, everything's going to be digital, social media, right? Then COVID hit and it was like, okay, there's no events, but man, it feels like face-to-face interactions with brands, with people, still huge, right? We know that from HPX last year, and we're already seeing it take shape for this year, but I just feel like people are a little bit just worn out from the constant algo and just all the stuff on Instagram all day. Although in Vegas, I did also kind of have the feeling of being on Instagram where I'm like, there's just so much shiny stuff everywhere. I don't really know where to look. It's hard to concentrate right now. There's just people doing burnouts everywhere I go. There's, it was just a little bit crazy, I think, in that regard. But CanCon really dialed in vendors, really good displays there as well. And people doing like, yeah, I'm looking to buy this. Let me touch it, feel it, and then I'm going to go home and order it kind of thing. So yeah, I think in general, for me, events continue to be a bright spot in the industry. And I think we're going to see more and more of that, especially as AI and all that, continues to do what it's doing on the internet. But what's your take on just the event space right now?
Yeah, I think that's a really good observation. I think the face-to-face, right, because then you can tell if the person's real serious and if they're at the event. We've talked about this a little bit, just by making the decision to go to the show, they're pretty serious. I think the one thing you could also do at the show last week is to see like what segments are actually hot by the attendance in each hall. It's so big, right, and it is broken down by segments. You can almost tell where the interest is. So West Hall is trucks, let's just be honest. We have been preaching this for over a decade. If you're not doing something in the truck market, you're making a mistake, or you could be in a lot of trouble. That hall was busy the whole time. Central, which is where you and I have spent our entire professional careers, is the performance and racing industry. I had people say to me that people were showing up really late, including exhibitors, like midday. Folks weren't showing up. And then North I was in a little bit. We'll talk about that. South I didn't even go into, other than just a quick blast to take a look at what Jeep, Dodge, Mopar had going on, which was some cool stuff. So one of the things I heard one major manufacturer, talk to one of our industry friends and say, we're going to go from a few events to 50 events next year. So I think you're spot on. I think you could see this big push back into physical events and starting to realize what we've been talking and coaching people about is, hey, don't just look at those big social media channel numbers. Is it the right audience for your brand? Are they actually buyers? And again, to reinforce that, it might just be someone with 1,000 followers, but if they're all buying $20,000 crate engines, that's where you want to be in front of those customers. So yeah, live events are going to be a thing in 26. Let's just stamp that as a trend we identified.
I like it. Yeah, it seems a little bit obvious, I guess, but I think there are still a lot of people who haven't gotten back out. Even some of the biggest brands in the space pulled back during COVID, never really got back on there, are like, yeah, it's $100,000, it's $200,000, it's whatever, it's a big investment. I got to ship people around the country, I got to do all the stuff. But if you're not there, it's hard to get your messaging out, and it's hard to meet these people. And if they meet someone else and then they start a relationship and then they build from there, So yeah, I think anybody listening to this, maybe it's time to reevaluate. What are we doing at events? Are there events that we haven't been thinking about that we should go to? Are there things we've been doing where we could move money around to do some extra stuff? So yeah, I think that was a good takeaway from last week for sure.
Let me hit you with another trend. It became real obvious when they had 4 burnout pits going on at the same time that I think that type of takeover activity is, I'm going to say, this is going to piss people off, but I think it's replacing motorsports. Ooh, wow, I can't believe somebody just said that. But if you look at what's going on, that's where the attention's at, man. That's where your biggest influencers are spending their time building a burnout car. I'm not saying that as, pro motorsports is going away, but if you look at where the attention is, man, there's a lot of people building burnout cars just to be Instagram famous. I'm not being, they're winning. I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm just looking at where the attention is at, and they got it right now.
I actually had that thought separately. I was walking through one of the, like, west to somewhere, and like, man, where is karting? Where are dragsters? There's more to this industry than doing burnouts. And I love burnouts, but that's not the only thing going on in this industry. And like, I would love to see some dynos. I would love to see, I remember when PRI used to have dynos outside of Orlando, and it was awesome. It was so cool. And then right in front of that, they had karting. That was cool. Yeah, I would like to see more of the pro stuff come in to all of these events, really. And I do think this spotlight on building the worst car you can with the most turbos and an LS swap, like, I'm a little bit over it for sure. The pro drifting isn't even what people are watching, right? It's not even like, Formula, it wasn't that. It's just takeover cars, kind of. So that will make people mad, but as an industry, I feel like we could put a better foot forward there. So I agree with you.
All right. Another trend I identified with, it's going to sound terribly obvious to everybody, but there weren't a lot of what I would call basic builds where you just take a brand new car and you do your thing to it. If you're a muffler company or a blower company, there were a lot of really expensive cars. That sounds kind of obvious, but I think what folks may not realize is when we say expensive cars, there were multiple $1 million cars that always seem to come out. I don't think it's a bad thing. It sets the bar really high. I think that's coming at the cost of, I would say, waves of new vehicles being put out on the floor with our latest part on it. I don't know. Did you catch any of this?
Yeah, this is what I've called selfishly the, like, what's in it for me question. And when I go to a show or a place, I want to know what can I get? What can I buy? And how does it affect my life? And I don't have $3.8 million to build the coolest one-off whatever. I just have regular cars that I want to bolt stuff to. So, like, to me, one of my takeaways from the show was I've always liked the Raptor R. A Raptor R makes a ton of power, but oh man, I'm in Ford Performance's booth. They have a Raptor R, and it has a Whipple on it, and oopsie, it makes 900 horsepower. And if they warranty this, and if I can buy this at a dealer with a Cal, like, whoa, now we're talking about something that does actually benefit me in some way. Not that I have Raptor R money, but I can dream, right? And I've always wondered why, when I'm walking around shows, are there not more booths dedicated to the main sellers that you can buy? Now, I think the West Hall actually does a good job of this, because most of those builds are like overland trucks with regular things on them, or campers or something like that that's more obtainable. They're new. Whereas the pro builds have gotten so out of control, and I understand it, but they're effectively nicer than Riddler cars at this point. And I can't even buy any of the parts that are on it because they're all custom. So yeah, I think that's cool, but I would love to see, I'm sure for you, like, I would love to go by a booth and it just have 5 4th gen Camaros in different states of 4th gen Camaro, because I love 4th gen Camaros, and I would love to be like, oh, I like that wheel and I like this, and oh, you guys are making a seat bracket or a wide body. More of that. And it seems like now the current trend is build the craziest thing you've ever seen, get me into the booth, and then be like, oh yeah, we also make, I guess we sell these things too. It'd be cool to push those things to the front a little bit, because the big dollar cars are a cool draw for sure, but how they affect the average person, I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I didn't count cars. Usually there's a stat that comes out about how many cars are there, but I think I only saw like a handful of C8 Corvettes, which was, the hottest thing ever 2 years ago. A handful of Mustangs. The exception is F-150s. We have been telling you this. F-150s are the new platform. Like, if you're not making an F-150 part, you're not in the industry. I mean, that sounds super, super harsh, but I'm thinking about ProCharger had their kit. I think Magnuson had a kit. They were everywhere, to your point, in the West Hall. They were outside doing burnouts. I mean, this is the new muscle car, is regular cab F-150s. God, I wish Chevy would have made this regular cab. We'd have quite a war on our hands right now, but you and I were in those meetings. We watched it happen. We're like, God dang it. The other thing I wrote down follows what you said, is blowers through hoods. So I think these are the extreme version, and this kind of goes into the expensive car conversation, right? Like, it's not good enough to just do a 500 horsepower. It's 800 horsepower is getting kind of normal. Okay, so now we got to do big blowers through the hood and 2 turbos, and these are on kind of regular builds, I would say. So I think extreme is the new normal, which is going to get even more expensive for a person wanting to keep up at home.
Well, and I get it. I mean, it's the only way to stand out. If you're going to go to a show that has these types of things, and that Ring Brothers and all these guys are going to be there, of course the quality of car is going to be insane, so you have to build something that's insane too. But then it goes back to like, okay, well, what are you really trying to sell? What are we really trying to build as a brand here? I thought some of the displays were really innovative. I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but methods, cardboard box, trophy truck was really cool. It's fun every year that someone does that. I remember years ago when Vossen kind of turned their booth inside out. That was really cool. This was a really cool execution. So like, you don't have to build a $7 million car to stand out, but you do have to have some sort of ingenuity there. And I thought the method one was one of the coolest ways to do that. And then to tie it into like, hey, every build starts with a method box. It's just a cool, like, okay, I get what is going on here. So I thought that was a cool display. It probably also did cost a lot to build it, but yeah, more regular stuff for regular people would be, that's the industry, right?
Yeah, and I think it's a good draw. I mean, that's the counterpoint, right? Like, you do this crazy, wacky stuff to draw attention to the brand, and then I sell you, big volume stuff. The other thing I wrote down is, seemed like there were more after-hours events. I don't think I went to a couple of really good dinners, had some good meetings, but did you hit up any of the parties last week?
No, it was wonderful. It's funny, the past couple years we've been so busy, which we've always been busy, but we've been so busy that like we're shooting cars till 2 a.m, and then you got to get up at 6 a.m. or whatever, and then you got to edit at some point in between there. So I've been waking up like, wow, I haven't had a drink at all. I wasn't at any of these loud parties, and I actually feel great. So I'm officially 1,000 years old is what I've realized, and my party days are behind me. But it's cool to see that there are big parties that are still going on, that are drawing big crowds, and people are really into them, because I like that extension of the show. Did you get VIP bottle service anywhere?
No, but I will say that might be a weakness in my game. I've never done it, and I know, I guess we've gone to a few parties in the past. We've thrown a few parties in the past too, with some of the big GM media events. So maybe that was kind of how we got it out of our system. But you should go to these things. You should seek out getting invited to them. You should have a little fun, but you want that exposure, and you want to talk to business folks, industry leaders in a more casual environment. So I think it's a good thing for the industry also.
Yeah, I have been a proponent of like, can we open later? So if we know this is happening, right? I always liked, I've talked to you about this, the grid life model, where like grid life doesn't even start warm-ups until like 11 in the afternoon, because they know that they go late, and that's the crowd. And it's like, okay, I kind of like this model where, and you said it, even exhibitors were showing up midday. Like, well, yeah, if you're out till 3 a.m, it's hard to be there at 8, so something's got to give there. And as we know, one of the hardest parts about Vegas is like, if you leave the show at 5 and you have a dinner at 7:30,
You're late.
oh, I got 2.5 hours. You are late. You are in a panic late situation from the second you pick up your book bag to the second you show up at dinner 45 minutes late. I mean, there's just not time to do it. And that's just the reality of the whole thing. But that's tough too, because every time I'm there, I just feel like I'm late, I gotta go here, I'm late. You don't really get time to just cruise and see things and slow down a little bit.
I want to go through, like, talk about some of your assignments. I'll give you an idea of some of what my clients, partners had going on. And, what did you do and how did you help people grow a business at a big trade show?
Yeah, so we had a great kind of diverse SEMA this year, which was cool. We did a lot of Vegas content with Chevrolet Performance. They were launching their new Carbon ZL1 performance package. So we were at the track with the engineering team weeks prior to the event. We were making photo and video. They launched it on Monday. Well, they teased it on Monday, launched it on Tuesday. It was a new product showcase. So that was really cool. That was a good example of like creating content around an event but not at the event, right? So Chevy was smart to be able to capture kind of that energy, but then not participate at the actual event. So that's one strategy, and we've used that a million times in the past, worked really well. We also were there with Stinger, and Stinger is an audio company, so they were in North Hall, which is not a hall that we're in too often. But Stinger knew people over there. They've been a big company for a long time, but they redid their entire trade show display for this year. Really did a great job on that. They launched a bunch of product, and then they built 4 all new builds for this year, including a side-by-side, which was new for them. So we supported them pre-event, getting all this captured, building content for their website, building teaser reels, following that same kind of chart that we showed on the other episode, and then supporting them in the booth with just getting booth photos, interactions, that type of stuff. So that was really good. And then we were in West Hall with Ford Performance, getting images of their booth and supporting kind of what they had going on. They didn't really do any big unveils at the show. They did have the Raptor R with the Whipple, and then they had a ton of crate engine products and a ton of really cool just Bronco products. They had a new Bronco grill that's pretty exciting. But really their display was just same thing, getting interactions, getting people around there, showing off what they had at the event. So it was nice. Like I said, I have not traditionally spent a lot of time in North, so it's really cool to see that space. The audio space is competitive. There's a lot of big brands that are fighting in that space. Remember, when we were kids, audio was like what you did to a car. That was a big thing. It still is, but it hasn't been as mainstream. It seems like has a little comeback to it, which is cool. And then, yeah, the Chevy stuff and the Ford stuff was great from just an OE. And they have 2 very different strategies of how they were going to market and kind of what they're bringing. So it was great. And that's really what we were doing there, and then trying to support everything else that was going on. But I will tell you, splitting time between North and West is, that's a long journey every time you got to do it. So luckily we had 2 teams that were separate handling that. But you had a very eventful week as well. So what do you have going on?
Yeah, and I got to point out, you keep talking about the Raptor R, so I feel like that's on your mind.
The Raptor R is big on my mind. It's kind of one of these things, like if you're going to get a Raptor,
you got it.
Right? And then spending time in the Fox Super Truck, you're like, okay, well, I do like big V8s, and I like superchargers, and I like all this stuff, and now they have it, and oopsie, a Whipple, so yeah. We need this pod to start producing some income so I can, yeah, that'd be cool if anyone wants to jump on board. Now would be the time.
Yeah, I went to the show with Badass Broncos, and we'll have Woody Farabee come on and talk about his trip through this industry, but he's about 10 years into a Bronco shop out of Texas. It's a premium Gen 1 Bronco shop. One of the rate limiting steps to that company was they just couldn't get chassis fast enough to scale it. So we put a factory together here in Michigan for him, and he now has Gen 1 Bronco chassis. And to show that off, he built a Gen 1 Bronco, Whipple, supercharged Coyote, 10-speed, method wheels, Fox, everything. So kind of last minute, we got him into the mother's display, and thank you, Jim Holloway, thank you, Jonathan Stone, and it was suggested that we submit him into the Battle of the Builders. So this is a 3-month build, typical of what would come from Badass Broncos. And, did I mention this thing was black? So imagine the balls to take a black car to SEMA. Yeah. So Woody makes it out of over 200 entries. Woody makes it into the top 40. We were like, oh my God. So there's 4 categories, top 10 in the 4x4 truck and SUV category. Then he makes it into the top 12, which means you're top 3 of these categories. And then it becomes this whole big production thing with Bud Brutzman and Greg Glass and AJ, and they're, full on TV production mode. And that's what I ended up doing on Thursday. So Woody didn't win his category, but it's okay. These cars are over the top and awesome. And that's a great program that they run. Mothers sponsors that. I should mention that. But over the moon. And then, you start thinking about, well, what can we do? How does the brand take advantage of this, right? Well, you've got a bunch of media opportunities, exposure. And then what I underestimated was the massive amount of respect you get for being a top 12 vehicle in Battle of the Builders. Galimi reminded me that when the Ring brothers were interviewed on the Hot Rod podcast, they talked about how that event made the entire company. When they won it, it built their entire company. So I don't want to give too much of the business side away. That's Woody's business, but people are calling the shop. How do I buy Super Bad? Manufacturers are calling him. Hey, we want to be more involved with you. Can we give you a deeper break on some of the business we're doing with you? How do we become more involved with you? And I'm telling you, this type of victory, this type of acknowledgement when you're a good shop, I don't want to put a number on it because I could be way off, but double, triple, quadruple, it will have a significant impact on the future of Badass Broncos. And it's really exciting to watch.
Winning stuff is good, losing stuff sucks, but you can't win unless you play. And I feel like a lot of the times when anyone puts on something like this, there's 2 options. You can be super jaded and be like, oh, I don't care about that kind of stuff. I'm too cool for that. I'm just whatever. Or you can be afraid to lose, right? But the stakes are actually pretty high and the losing costs you nothing, right? So I think it's a good example of hey, if there's a thing, if you can win, people look at that. And especially collectors and especially, people that want to buy the best stuff. So it's a good lesson because I feel like it's easy to just be like, I'm not going to enter that. Who cares? But I think back to the Chevy Design Awards, that was a huge deal to win one of those. And it was hard to get involved with the program, but anybody who was selected, huge opportunity there. So yeah, it's cool that opportunities like that exist and that they're taken seriously, right?
Yeah, we'll tell you one other story on the background of Superbad. I told Woody, do not build a black Bronco. Are you out of your mind? We're not doing a black one for, maybe they're not obvious reasons, so we ought to go through it, right? You never put a black car on the cover of a magazine because it doesn't attract attention on the newsstand. And I think that rule continues through to all the social media channels, that a brighter color car gets you half a second more as someone scrolling by. Woody wanted to showcase the talents of his body guys and the fitment of the chassis and how everything works. So he did the thing in black, and it paid off. So Woody was right, I was wrong, but it looks awesome in person. But maybe spend some time on that. You know, a brighter color car gets more attention. Is that still true?
Yeah, everybody stop taking this as a challenge and just take it as good advice, because we've been telling people this forever. Every time we tell a designer or a painter or a builder, hey, don't take a black car to SEMA, or don't take a black car to try to get it on the cover of a magazine, what they hear is, I bet you can't make a black car look so good that you could get it on the cover of a magazine. And what they should hear is, a red car, a blue car, a bright colored car will perform better on the magazine. It will be much more likely for someone to pick it up. It will look better on social media. There's a lot of reasons to do it. I understand that you can make them nice, but you also have to understand the environment that they're in. They're in a building with thousands of overhead LED lights that just reflect everywhere. It doesn't look like how you imagine it in your head. It's very hard for people to take pictures with their cell phone, which is how they're going to take pictures of this thing. I think there's just an advantage to picking a brighter, easier to photograph color for your brand. Now, if you want to just prove the point, then go for it, okay? But stop doing it. Just paint them bright colors.
Yeah, I will say, of the photography I saw of this black Bronco, the one outside with the bright red mother's display in the background was by far the best image that was taken of this thing. The images inside in just a convention center, it looks like shit. There's shadows and glares and all sorts of problems on the truck. It's okay, baby. It was black. It's fine. We're top 12. Everybody wins, so we're happy.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it worked, but if I'm building something for next year, I'm gonna pick some color, maybe. That would be our advice today.
Yeah, I think we'll do a brighter color one for next year. Different vehicle. We also had Badass Broncos had the Gen 6 V8 conversion on display. Had a bunch of Fox shocks, Baja kits lift, method wheels. It looked really good. And we got some interest in that in a very large scale way. So you're probably looking at the V8 Gen 6 Bronco to take off in 26. I'll be working that deal. So I do want to talk about the OEMs. There were a lot of them walking around the show, and they had displays, but I had meetings with 2 other OEMs that were not on display, but these types of shows bring those folks together, gives them options on where vehicles are headed. We're super close to that. We've been in that industry, been in the performance parts and accessory space here for well over a decade. And I always like to see how it shapes the direction of some of these vehicles. There were a lot of Ford designers walking around that show. A lot of them came over to look at a black Bronco that I had told them about, and now they get it. But you never know. You never know where that's going to take an OEM team. So I always like to point that out because we're aftermarket kids that I love to see the big companies push by racing and performance parts. It's fun.
Yeah, it's funny. I think because we know a lot of the OE people, we can spot when they're doing their recon stuff. But if you were just a random person at SEMA, you would have no idea. But yeah, you'll see teams, you'll see the engineering teams walking around from the OEs looking at stuff. You'll see the designers walking around. You'll see purchasing people walking around. They're all stealth doing it. Sometimes they have different badges on that don't say the OE on them. But what they're looking for is trends, right? And then we see those trends come over. It takes a couple years, but that's how they end up on new cars. So that was cool to see. I also do want to shout out Dodge because I think they did, first of all, they followed our chart very well, but they launched pre-show with the new SRT drag pack or whatever they're calling that thing, which was really cool.
Huffer stuff?
Huffer stuff, I don't know what it's called. And then yesterday, so post-show, they released with Fox the veterans truck, the Commando, I think they're calling it. And then today they released, oh, by the way, we're dropping 12 new Jeep projects in 12 months, one a month. every month you're just going to keep hearing about cool Jeeps. So I thought that was really cool. They kind of seized the moment on both ends of it, and then obviously we're there, but they didn't try to launch in the middle of all the madness. They kind of started early and then waited. This Veterans Day drop was really cool. And then the Moab today, $392, $69,000, something like that. I mean, it's super cool. And that's one of 12. So we've got a whole year. We've got a little advent calendar of Jeeps coming, which is cool. So yeah, that stood out to me as just a cool kind of industry thing that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, again, Fox Factory is kind of the pinnacle of an aftermarket company that's a full-blown bailment company that can modify vehicles and put it back into a new dealer setting. Yeah, super high value on the Commando, right? Like $70,000 for a 392 Jeep that looks amazing. Scott Vickery is leading the charge over there. Brian McClanahan, the guys are doing some awesome stuff. I will say no one will ever know how Kirk Sanko saved that entire Jeep project, but you and I do. So we'll give a shout out to Kirk Sanko.
Good job, buddy.
Yeah, so I think we're going into December now as this thing comes out, right? November's blown up. We got a big racing trade show, then you're off to 26, and the High Performance Expo is right around the corner. Man, I felt really good coming out of Vegas last week. Obviously we had some wins for clients, but I think people are in a good place, and people are still spending a lot of money on expensive things, and that's what's driven this industry for years, decades.
Yeah, the market's good. No one is like, oh, I'm thinking about getting out of cars. No one that we know or saw or have any access to is like, oh yeah, we're really paring down. Oh yeah, we're really pulling back. Oh yeah, we're waiting for XYZ to happen. I think everyone is feeling good. I think, we've talked about it, probably some consolidation, probably some moves that are unexpected coming, but to see the OEs continuing to push the boundaries, continuing to drop more and more and more, and lower the price on a lot of these things, which is really cool. Seeing Fox make a big push into like really cool stuff there, and then seeing everyone else being pretty good, launching new products. 26 is shaping up to be. The
one thing I didn't see last week, and we've been very consistent with our AI watch, our artificial intelligence watches, there may have been some classes I just didn't see. I remember my week kind of got shortened because of the wins. But did you see a heavy AI influence in anything last week? Nothing comes to mind. I just thought I'd ask.
Yes.
Hit me.
The Commando launch video. If you look at the disclaimer on the Commando launch video, it calls out that AI was used in the production of this thing. There's one particular shot that looks very Sora, but then I pedaled back and almost the whole thing looks AI. Obviously, they have generated the truck to a point where it can be absorbed, but I would love to talk to someone behind that, because they're certainly using AI in that launch video. And then today, with the launch of the Moab, they reused some of those assets in a different way and had the same disclaimer. So that one kind of snuck through. As a video content creator, kind of nerve-wracking now, like, we're closer than, and we've known this, right? Yeah. But now Fox and Jeep are using this at scale for big launches. So if you're listening to this, go rewatch that video knowing that. You'll start to see some of these signs in there. But that one snuck in. As far as at the actual show, no, I didn't see a lot of that stuff. But the Commando was AI generated, at least portions of that video, enough that they felt the need to disclaim it, which was very interesting.
See, I just figured it was Scott Vickery driving the airplane and dropping the Jeep out the back. So I didn't know that was AI. Good catch.
I also figured it was probably that was how it was going to go down. But watch it again knowing that. You'll see some of those kind of little telltales if you spend a lot of time around them. But even if you don't, the disclaimer has it. So it'd be really interesting to get with the team behind that. see or kind of how the production went down, what was and what wasn't AI versus just traditional computer render. Cool launch though. I mean, but that one stood out to me. I was like, oh, here we go. We're into AI product drops now.
We talked about this. I've been using AI a lot. I don't even think about it, right? If I need a quick email, this is super easy. Are you going to start adopting video? Like you said it, you're worried when you see a video that's really good. Talk through that. What does that mean for your business? Are you going to adapt to that, or does that put you out of business?
No, you got to adapt. I mean, in content creation, it's always been about adapting. And I feel like anybody who gets to some artificial limit and then says, this is too far. Well, you were around when Photoshop came about. You were around when digital camera came about. These were all things that were ending the previous thing. You were around when AI was helping you with websites and emails, but now you're going to draw the line somewhere. I think it's really cool that these tools are getting to that scale. I think it's really cool for being able to drop something very quickly or on tight deadlines, because we know those are getting tighter and tighter. I do think, though, it's really hard for me to read. I was reading a lot of personal Facebook posts recapping last week that were clearly written in ChatGPT, M-dashes, the follow-up things. I'm like, this is just a personal recap. Just personally write this. I don't need you to use ChatGPT to do this. So it's sad that I'm seeing it so much that I'm like, well, now I don't even want to hear from this person anymore. The majority of the press releases were definitely AI written, which I get it. It's so much faster than paying a PR team to also use AI to write it and then make it look like they didn't. So I think that is going to continue. Hopefully people get better at merging the two, like your personal with your other thing. But from a photo video perspective, it's here to stay. The people that master it are going to be the people that succeed in the future. So it's not scary, but it is. The scariness is that you have to be on top of it. And these things are rapidly, evolving. So again, we say this every time, but if you're not at least dipping your toe in here, in 18 months, you're going to be like, I don't even know where to start now. People are so far ahead of me. So I didn't see any booth displays that had horrific AI background images, but last year we saw a lot, and it was very obvious. So either the image generation has gotten better and it's less obvious, or people have been like, hold on, let's take a critical look at this. This is our brand. I can't have a guy with 18 fingers, on the display. So I think the initial rush of just get it out, it's fun, is kind of ending, and now people are being more critical, using a more critical eye. I think that's good overall. But yeah, what was your AI vibe?
Well, my take on that video, I'm immediately thinking about the legal review. And now I'm thinking about the client side. If you just say it's AI generated, are you just free and clear from a legal review? That would be, if anybody knows, send us a note, because that would be a fascinating discussion. If you could just be like, oh, AI generated, it's not, everybody knows it's not real, legal, you don't need to stomp on this. So that's something to consider. Watch your ass on that one. The other thing, I did see a neat use kind of post-show. It was, hey, ChatGPT, give me the top 10 brands that got social media exposure. And I saw two very different lists when two people did it, which means to me, my takeaway is it doesn't work. But did you play with this, and are you at the same space where I'm at on that?
Yeah, so it's funny. I saw the same post, and originally I was like, okay, that's kind of jiving with some sort of reality. Yeah, but then another commenter was like, well, look at my list. It's totally different than your list. And then a more critical eye, we've been doing social media analytics for decades. Most of that information is proprietary, so there's no way. Now, ChatGPT has access to more than it says, but it would be really hard without a team really looking at that stuff or pre-planning to watch that stuff. But I think for future events, it would be very easy to build an AI agent to say, this event's coming up. These are my 15 competitors. These are the sites I want you to monitor. Every single hour, go out and monitor them. And then daily give me a report of what the public-facing vanity metrics look like. You could certainly do that going forward. And stuff like that is huge. I mean, there used to be entire social teams that would sit around and try to predict these things and give you sentiment and do all that. But even as a post-event, you could feed it, hey, this is what I did at the event. These are my real metrics. Here's my competition's handles. Can you go look at them? Did we beat them? Did we not? What won? What didn't? Oh, they were doing more reels than we were doing static posts or whatever. So certainly if you don't have an agency that can go pull that data for you, huge advantage, for sure.
I think that's good advice. One concern I would have is that Chat GPT is programmed to satisfy the user. So if they've learned that you're in charge of Vengeance Racing and they know you're Vengeance Racing and then you ask for a post-show, Vengeance Racing is going to be on that list. I'm just telling you it is. So I don't know, watch that. That would be my advice, but be able to check it.
Yeah, and this is where that prompt engineering discussion starts to creep in. And, you know, there are counter ways to do that. One prompt just off the top of my head would be to say, like, you are a private equity venture capital expert. I'm looking at acquiring one of these 5 companies based solely off of their performance at this event. I need you to go to each of their sites, rank it, blah, blah. Then it will give you an answer as if it is a critical PE expert and all you care about is engagement. So yeah, you have to think, like, what is this thing trying to appease me with? And then how can I make it do this other task? That's probably a little advanced for some people, but even if it gives you something and then you just say, I'm very critical of this, I don't think you've done any research, prove to me that it's right, at least it will try to re-answer that. So yeah, definitely don't just take the first thing and be like, we crushed it, guys. Then look, it said we're awesome and I'm handsome, you know, because it is trained to do that as well.
I thought I would see more designs and I thought I would see more logistic applications, but they're coming, I guess.
For sure. Is that the pod?
I think that's good. Quick hitter.
That's the pod. We'll see you next week. Do remember that we have some in the can already that are good. And if you haven't watched some of the older ones, I still feel like Garrett Reed's a good watch. Brian Loans is a good watch. There's a bunch in there that are lower view counts than I think. If you could pick one for someone to watch that they maybe haven't yet, what would be your top pick?
Yeah, I think Nikki Fowler came in and really gave a lesson, a lifelong lesson of how to run a performance parts and accessories and interact with the OEMs. And then if you want to really get on the cutting edge, Brian talking about distribution of your parts, your business, how to package parts, how to treat customers, man, like it's an entire PhD in how to excel in this industry. So those are good watches.
All right, go watch them, like and subscribe. Comments help us a ton, so that'd be cool. But otherwise, that's the pod.